Lighthouse. I'm Miss Dorothy, and I'm here to read you another story. Now remember, all week we're reading about the important lesson, don't talk to strangers. And tonight I have a book. You're never going to believe what it's called. It's called Never Talk to Strangers. That's what we're talking about. Never talk to strangers. Ooh, looks like a strange bear came to the house, and this boy is not supposed to talk to strangers. I wonder who else we're not supposed to talk to in this book. We're going to have to get inside this book and find out what important lessons it has for us. Are you ready to get into another Stranger Danger book with Miss Dorothy? Good. I need you to sit up and listen up, because here we go. Never Talk to Strangers, written by Irma Joyce, illustrated by George Buckett. If you are hanging from a trapeze and up sneaks a camel with bony knees, remember this rule, if you please, never talk to strangers. Even though the camel looks very nice, that's a stranger. You shouldn't talk to him. If you are shopping in a store and a spotted leopard leaps through the door, don't ask him what he's shopping for. Never talk to strangers. If the doorbell rings and standing there is a grouchy, grumbling, grizzly bear, shut the door, your mother won't care. Never talk to strangers. Oh, that's good. Whether it's a grizzly bear or a person, you should never open the door for a stranger. If you're in the park for a walk and out of the cloud parachutes a hawk, unless you know his name, don't talk. Never talk to strangers. If you're waiting for a bus and behind you stands a rhinoceros, though he may shove and make a fuss, never talk to strangers. If you are out for a mountain climb and a coyote asks if you know the time, let him wait for a clock to chime. Never talk to strangers. That's right, if you're out playing and somebody tries to talk to you, don't answer. Never talk to strangers. If you're mailing a letter to Aunt Lucille and you see a car with a whale at the wheel, stay away from him and his automobile. Never talk to strangers. Well, that is so important. Never go up to a stranger in a car. If you're riding your bike at noon and you see a bee with a bassoon, oh, look at that bee playing that instrument. Don't stop to ask the name of his tune. Never talk to strangers. If you are swimming in a pool and a crocodile begins to drool, paddle away and repeat this rule. Never talk to strangers. But if your father introduces you to a roly-poly kangaroo, say politely, "How do you do?" That's not talking to strangers, because your father knows her. Oh, see, that's a friend of Dad. You can talk to that friend of Dad. If your teacher said she'd like you to meet a lilac llama who's very sweet, look at that purple llama, invite her over to serve a treat. That's not talking to strangers, because your teacher knows her. You can talk to somebody who's a friend of your teacher. If a pal of yours you've always known brings around a prancing roan, welcome him in a friendly tone. That's not talking to strangers, because your pal knows him. Well, if your friend has a friend and introduces you, well, then that wouldn't be a stranger. You can talk to them. If while eating toast and honey you catch a glimpse of the Easter bunny, tell him a joke, he'll think it's funny. That's not talking to strangers, because everybody knows them. Everybody knows the Easter bunny. Now I'll tell you why you've never heard this jolly giraffe say a single word. It's because he learned from a little bird. Never talk to strangers. Even the giraffe knows he shouldn't talk to strangers. Oh, that was a good book. That was a good way to teach us to never talk to strangers. All the strange animals kept coming along, and we're like, nope, nope, never talk to strangers. I like this one, though. Why you've never heard the jolly giraffe say a single word? It's because he learned never to talk to strangers. So he's not going to talk to us because we're strangers. Even the giraffe knows that lesson. But this was important. If your dad knows somebody and he says that's his friend, can you talk to them? Yes, that's not a stranger because your dad knows them. Sometimes it gets a little tricky knowing who's a stranger and who's not. But you know what? That's what Mom and Dad are there for. Mom and Dad are there to make sure you know who to talk to and who not to talk to. And if you ever see somebody like standing in your yard and you're like, I don't know that person, should you talk to them? No. You should get Mom and Dad and say, Mom, is that a stranger? So Mom and Dad can tell you who's a stranger and who's not a stranger, who you can talk to and who you don't talk to. Remember, stranger danger. Don't talk to people that you don't know and that Mom and Dad don't introduce you to. Important lesson. We're going to read about it all week because Miss Dorothy wants you to be safe. And now, Miss Dorothy wants you to get into bed. I want you to get under your covers, get cuddled up, curled up, ready for a really good night's sleep. And tomorrow, what are we supposed to remember? Never talk to strangers and obey, and obey right away. And then come back and see Miss Dorothy. I'm going to be sitting right here, ready to read another book to you. Bye! Thanks for reading with Miss Dorothy. I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope you'll come back soon to read another. What's your favorite book? Drop Miss Dorothy a note and let me know. I'll go find it, and I'll read it to you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you soon.